going on, guys and girls? Got the winter windshield on, got the winter seat on. It is time to prepare for colder weather. It's also time to reflect on the past year, and man, has it been eventful. First, you may be wondering, Anthony, I thought you were going to get a new bike this year. What the heck happened? Well, we'll get into that in a minute. But first, let's go over some of the cool stuff this year has brought. Like this.
Is where the heck was Aquaman?
They spent a lot of money last year,
Yeah,
on Mr. Momoa, and where'd he go? Where
I don't know. I have no idea.
their investment seemed to just disappear.
And of course, who could forget this? You know how it said fresh eggs back there. You know how an egg is fresh? How you can tell? When it pinches you. There you go. There's your biker joke. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. And then there were the outdoor adventures. Oh well. Just drug the 360 under that tree. And then as the season went on, we had this. Maybe get a tattoo from the bottom of our feet. Steel plate, yes! Motorcycles use caution.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. Is this gravel here?
A little bit.
Steel plate and head, that's what it says.
Wee!
I think he heard you say that. And close to the end of the year, or close to the last quarter of the year, my wife had some bad news in her family. My father-in-law got diagnosed with basically bladder cancer that occurred outside the bladder. It took over his kidney, and he had the kidney removed, ureter removed. The mass had adhered to the colon, but they didn't have to take out any colon. It had adhered to the vena cava. They were able to get it off that. And that was, well, he started feeling ill in March, but August is when they got it diagnosed. At first, he kept having a fever, it kept coming and going, and got diagnosed with pneumonia. And then after the third round of antibiotics, pneumonia fever was still going on. Did a whole body scan and found the mass. Pretty advanced at that point. So August has the mass removed. Then he catches COVID. Went from that to finally starting treatment, and by then the cancer had come back along the vena cava, behind the lymph nodes on one side of his neck. So he had his first round of treatment for the cancer, hoping to head it off because, you know, in August they gave him 3-6 months tops. And he couldn't start because of the COVID. Once he got over the COVID, they started the treatment. And that week he had a stroke. Told my wife and I, because he still had his speech function, he told my wife and I as they were loading into the ambulance that we needed to go ahead and go on our trip we had planned for my birthday. And that was in November when he stroked out. He went from being verbal, paralysis on the right side, to strokes kept coming. The doctors determined that there were clots forming in his bloodstream. One of the bigger clots that led to the first stroke had broken apart on the way up, affected both hemispheres, mostly on the left hemisphere and the parietal lobe. That was on Friday, and when we got back from our weekend getaway, he had gone nonverbal, declined into only being able to respond by squeezing his left hand, and he had signed an advance directive. You know, he did not want to be on life support, any of that. I remember waiting with him as we were waiting for the ambulance, and he had tears in his eyes, and he told me, "Anthony, this is what I was afraid was going to happen. I didn't want to end up this way." And then my wife and I stayed with him in hospice. The first night he was in hospice, we stayed with him, talked to him, and probably about 10:30 we went to bed, you know, because the hospice room you could stay in. I turned on some night sounds, which were crickets and tree frogs, and you know, his breathing was not on the ventilator. His natural breathing went from labored to calm, and then they came in and checked on him, gave him some more pain meds, and then he went from that to just peacefully stopped breathing. So it's been rough end of the year. He died November 20th. It's been really rough on my wife. She was real close to him. In fact, she had actually moved in with him because between September and his first chemo, he fell like 4 times, loss of balance. Before he started his treatment, I took him out to run errands, and he had me drive because he was just too weak. Like even weak just using the Get About electric scooter. So with all that, you know, I decided my 50th birthday, you know, the celebration was going to be me getting a new bike, and with that heartache hitting her and the rest of her family, and you know, a little bit me too, I just felt like it was not appropriate to get the new bike yet. So yeah, that's where we are. My wife's been going, she's the executrix of the estate. She's been trying to get that taken care of. She has, I was going to say, okay days and then rough days. And, you know, it was really, I guess, beautiful in a way. His funeral was beautiful in a way. The family had a tradition going back to her grandfather that when somebody was buried, everybody took a shovel full of dirt and put it into the grave. And the tradition was started by her pasture when her grandfather died. And so the family did that. And then friends of all ages lined up too. And you know, we had like 3 shovels, lines at 3 shovels, putting dirt into the grave. Yeah, it hurts. You know, it's really, well, I think my son nailed it at Thanksgiving, right after my father-in-law died. He's like, Dad, the universe did not want you to celebrate your 50th birthday this year. Bad enough it was actually on Thanksgiving. And then my father-in-law dying right before it, and the funeral right after Thanksgiving. So, lesson, moral, I guess, of the story is, when your doctor tells you to stop smoking, listen. Because the #1 cause of urothelial cancer, or basically bladder cancer, and men especially are more prone to it, is smoking. #1 cause for the cancer. Anyway, so back to happy stuff. I am actually on my way to the grocery store. My wife was not feeling up to it, so I got the bike out, do the year-end review, and I'm going to close out with some peaceful footage right here.